Chapter 19, New York Boy. Clean and sober seems like the ending of a journey I've been on since I was a kid. Not a happy ending, I've never believed in those, but not an unhappy one either. On December 27, 2004, during my Christmas break from the road, I made a decision I'd been putting off for a while. I went over to Jerry's house and told him I wanted to go into rehab. For a long time, since giving up pot in the late 80s, I'd been addicted to an opiate called wine and Vicodin. I was up to 1.5 bottles and 5 or 6 Vikes a day. They seem like small potatoes compared to the plane loads of coke and pot and truckloads of beer I'd ingested in the 70s, but it was my personal bottoming out. I couldn't control it, and I needed help. The details aren't important. What is important is that I developed a new appreciation of the AA techniques that had helped Brenda so much. Whatever skepticism I had about them or the people who used them, and that they worked, although I can do without that higher power stuff. At the age of 67, I put an end to 5 decades of substance abuse, beginning with my first toke in the hallway of a building on 122nd Street when I was 13. That's a 54-year-old high. I don't miss it. I feel better than those mornings when I dropped a couple of Vikes to feel better. Wine sections and liquor stores hold no temptations for me. That's all in the past, which is good. I have plans. I have thousands of notes and ideas in hundreds of files on 4 Apple computers, and the notes keep coming. Probably there are other HBOs in my future, and there'll always be stuff for them, but my mind and focus have been elsewhere for a while. The reason I want to spend less time on the road is so I can develop the next form for myself. If I live long enough and still have my wits about me, I believe there's going to be a Broadway period for me. What form it takes will evolve, but the basic structure is becoming clearer. Over the years, I've had an increasingly accelerated anticipation of and speeding toward the moment where I begin to use my characters. This multiplicity of identities inside me that I've never had the opportunity or moment or chance to unleash, or rather, I've never had the courage to force the moment and opportunity into being so that they could be unleashed. The biggest family of voices are West Siders, the voices of my childhood. But there are many others, aggressive, noisy, quiet. Some are street crazies, high-pitched or deep, slow or menacing, confusing or confused. Some are funny, and some aren't. Some old, some young. There are priests, cops, shopkeepers, all of them real, not impressions of actors on screen doing priests, cops, and shopkeepers. There are Southerners from the Air Force, Westerners from my radio days. But what all of them do when they start talking is invent this magic fucking material, and they are bursting at the tethers trying to get out. I'm 1,000 different people that I can climb into in an instant and really inhabit. The constraints of my left brain organized, carefully constructed stand-up material won't allow them to be themselves. But they have to be allowed to be who and what they are. I have to let my people go. What I've realized is that I've been writing a Broadway show all along. I've had this dream for a while now, and I'd often worry that being on the road would never leave me time to fulfill it. Among the notes I write and file all the time are many I put away because I can't find a place to use them, but in effect are at a stage well past notes. They're the beginning of a narrative. Theater is a different form, and not every word has to be scripted. My characters will write their own words when the time comes. Their words are not the words of my stand-up. Commentary, lists, observation, so much as stories. So, what started as notes is becoming a narrative, linear flow. It'll be more a case of finding out where they fit in the larger story, and how and why. A Broadway show has been growing organically out of the stand-up process. The organizing principle will be my childhood, in effect the first chapters of this book. So in a way, we're back to the autobiographical burst of the 70s, more familiarity, except that instead of the class clown, it will be the rest of the rich, wonderful, gritty world of the solitary boy who whiled away his school hours by disrupting class. The priests and nuns, the beat cops, the Irish gangs, the Moylan regulars, the Columbia interlopers, the shopkeepers and street hustlers, and so many more, a whole vanished neighborhood with its sounds, music, accents, and smells, its fights and joys and loves and prejudices, all seen through the eyes of that same boy. His home life and mother. Yes, I can do my mother. A set of characters in herself. A lace-curtain Bernhardt who can soak you in guilt, but also tell you a story with 6 characters. Do a voice for each one of them and come up with a punchline. And beyond home and neighborhood, the magic island of Manhattan. Wartime Manhattan, just an IRT ride downtown. I'll tell that boy's tale, even though by the time we get this on, I could well be an old fuck of 70 or more. But that will be as it should be. I'll be old man and boy. The boy who will one day be the old man looking back on the long-ago boy he once was. Reunion, in fact. What we seek all our lives. Returning to the one, no longer separated, the capstone of my life. It'll be pretty good, I think. I'm calling it New York Boy.
Last Words was written by George Carlin with Tony Hendra and read by Patrick Carlin. It was abridged for audio by Jan Werner. The recording engineers were Owen Swenson at the Turning Mill in Palinville, New York, Robert Anderson at Carnegie Hall Recording in New York City, and Eric Brenya at Point 360 West in Los Angeles. Editing and post-production by Frog Pond Productions. The associate producer was Travis Tunn. Last Words was produced and directed by Elisa Shokoff. This has been a presentation of Simon & Schuster Audio. Last Words is available in hardcover from Free Press.